What if I told you she's not gone? She's waiting, lurking, betting you'll chase her back. You think she's over you, that her silence means she's won, her life's a parade without you in it. Most guys do. They see her cool mask, her quiet, and figure she's unbroken. But here's the kicker. She's dangling a trap, hoping you'll sprint right into it. The second you crack, text her, beg her. She's got you, and you're dust. Welcome back to Stoic Spirit, where ancient wisdom turns weakness into steel. Today, I'm unveiling 7 brutal signs she's begging you to break, and how to shatter her game with Stoic Power. Hit that subscribe button now, because by the end, you'll see why her chase doesn't own you. You own yourself. Stick around. The last sign will torch every lie you've bought about her heart. Let's dive in. Here's the gut punch. Most men miss this because they're too busy clawing at her ghost. They think her cold shoulder's a victory lap, that she's laughing while they bleed. I've been that fool. Years ago, I'd pace my room, refreshing her feed, waiting for a crumb to prove I wasn't trash. I was dead wrong. She wasn't laughing. She was watching, testing me. Then Stoicism flipped the script. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Her game? That's her mess. Your rise? That's your throne. These 7 signs aren't about dragging her back. They're about spotting her desperation while you stand untouchable. Ready to break the trap? Let's roll. Sign 1. She leaves the door cracked, just wide enough to tempt you back in. A sliver of shadow teasing you like a siren's call through the fog. She doesn't slam it shut with a cold goodbye, doesn't carve a final cut with "we're done." No, she's too clever for that. Instead, it's a whisper of maybe, a faint creak in the silence that's louder than any slam could ever be. A vague text lands in your inbox, soft as a feather but sharp as a blade. "Take care," she types, or a half-hearted, "we'll talk someday," tossed out like a scrap you're supposed to pounce on. It's not closure. It's a leash, dangling there in the dark, swaying just enough to catch your eye, to see if you'll tug, if you'll claw at that thin thread she's spun. She's not walking away clean. She's betting you'll read hope into those crumbs, that you'll lunge for that sliver like a starving man at a mirage, pleading for more, begging for the door to swing wide again. I fell for this once, hook, line, and sinker. She ghosted me cold, left me reeling for weeks, but tossed out a sea-around text like a bone to a dog. Stewed over it, overthought every word, paced my room like a caged animal, nearly caved and texted back. What's that mean? A buddy got it worse. His ex signed off with a lazy, "Maybe we'll reconnect," then vanished into thin air, leaving him staring at his phone, heart pounding, fingers itching to chase. He almost did, until he saw the game, saw her smirking behind that cracked door, waiting for him to grovel. I've heard it from others too. A guy's ex dropped "stay safe" after a brutal split, and he spent days decoding it, nearly broke. Epictetus said it like a thunderclap. There's only one way to happiness. Cease worrying about what's beyond your power. Her bait? It's her cage. Her little trap snapping shut the second you bite. Your move? Slam that damn door yourself. Don't reply. Don't nibble. Don't give her a single twitch of desperation. Let her choke on the silence when you don't grovel. Let her stew in the dark when you don't play her puppet. She's not being kind, not leaving you a lifeline. She's fishing for your weakness, casting that line to see if you're still hers to reel in. That cracked door isn't an invite, it's a dare, a taunt whispering, "Bet you can't stay away." But a stoic doesn't flinch at shadows or lunge at ghosts. You're not her prey, you're the wall she can't breach. Ever had her crack that door just enough to tease you? Some vague maybe? Some soft "take care" that yanked at your gut? Drop it below. I want your story. I want to hear how she tried to lure you back into her snare. Sign 2. She floods your feed with noise, a circus blazing into a wildfire the second you step back. A deafening roar crashing through the quiet you've built. You go dark, vanish like smoke from her world, and boom, her socials erupt into a blinding spectacle, a carnival rigged to yank your eyes back to her spotlight. Selfies hit like lightning strikes, each one dripping with a glow so sharp it could cut glass. Her face framed in filters that scream perfection, captions slicing through the air. "Free at last," she trumpets, or a song lyric lands, one that twists too close to your past, a dagger dipped in nostalgia aimed straight at your chest. It's no coincidence, no sudden burst of joy lighting up her soul. She's not reborn, not basking in some glorious new dawn. She's screaming, howling through pixels, a desperate performer strutting atop a digital tightrope, hoping, praying, you're out there, hunched over your phone. Gut twisting into knots, sweat beading as you scroll through her circus tent. Maybe a pic drops with friends, all grins and glitter, tagged New Me, a neon banner waving in your face. A guy I know went silent after she walked out. Next day, her Instagram's a full-on parade. Party shots, sequins flashing, best life yet scrawled like a taunt across every frame. She wasn't living it. She was baiting him, tossing out flares to see if he'd flinch. I've seen it too. An ex of mine cut ties, so I faded out. 3 days later, her stories explode like fireworks. Beach shots, glowing tan under a sunset, starting over, etched in the sand like she'd carved my name into it. A friend's ex took it further, posted found my peace with a yoga pose at dawn, all serene, but her eyes screamed for his attention. Seneca nailed it raw and cold. We suffer more in imagination than reality. She's imagining you scrolling, breaking, your heart splintering with every swipe. Don't give her that stage. Stay off her grid. Keep your hands steady. Let her spotlight sputter and die when you don't clap. Don't gasp. Don't bow. She's not shining. She's clawing for your eyes, clawing to drag you back into her ring. Here's the brutal edge. She's not posting for the crowd. She's posting for you, rigging this circus to pierce your armor, betting you'll crack under the glare. Every selfie, every cryptic line, it's a siren's howl, a trap snapping shut if you blink. But a Stoic doesn't dance for clowns. He stands tall, lets her parade fade into silence. Noticed her posts roar like a storm when you went quiet, selfies blazing, quotes stabbing, anything to catch your stare? Tell me below. I want to hear how she turned her feed into a battlefield for your soul. Sign 3. She stirs the pot with friends, turning your crew into her echo chamber, a buzzing hive of whispers she's twisting to her tune. She won't hit you up. No, that's too bare, too jagged against the fortress of her pride, but she'll poke around the edges, slithering through your circle like a wolf in sheep's skin. He doing okay these days? She'll toss out all casual, voice smooth as silk, like it's just a passing thought over a beer. But don't let that velvet fool you. Truth slams harder than a fist. She's not asking out of kindness, not sipping concern from a cup of care. She's digging for gold, panning through the chatter for nuggets of your ruin. Is he lost without me? Is he crumbling under the weight I left? She's praying they'll spill your wrecked, still hers to toy with, a puppet, dangling on strings she thinks she still pulls. An ex of mine tried this, weeks after she bolted, cutting me loose like a frayed thread. A pal dropped it casual like over coffee. She asked how you're coping lately. My gut twisted for a heartbeat, but I saw the glint. She didn't care about my days. She wanted my ruin, wanted him to say I was a mess, still bleeding her name. Another friend caught it worse. His ex cornered a mutual buddy at a barbecue, all breezy with a grin. He mentioned me lately, still the same guy. She wasn't after small talk. She was fishing for tears, craving a tale of him drowning in her wake, clutching at her ghost. I heard it from another. She wondered if you're seeing anyone, a mate said, her voice probing like a miner's pick. Marcus Aurelius said it cold and clear. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Her net, her snare, woven tight to drag you back. Don't bite. Keep your circle locked down, your lips sealed. Let her hear through the vines that you're a rock, not a wreck. That burns her deeper than any words you could sling, scalds her pride right where it festers. Here's the raw cut. She's not stirring for your sake. She's stirring for hers, tossing pebbles into your crew to see if they ripple back with your weakness. Every he's fine she hears is a slap. Every he's thriving, a torch to her ego's frail frame. She's counting on your boys to betray your cracks, but a Stoic keeps his fortress sealed. Ever had her stir that pot through friends? Some sly? How's he holding up that wasn't so sly? Share it below. I want to hear how she tried to sift through your shield for gold she'll never find. Sign 4. She lingers in your shadows, popping up where your life hums, a phantom slipping through the cracks of your world like she's got a key. That bar you haunt, where the stools creak and the whiskey bites just right? She's there, perched on the edge, sipping slow as sin, eyes darting like a hawk through the haze. The trail you run, where the dirt kicks up and your breath burns alive. She's jogging now, pace off kilter, sweat glistening like it's her new thing. Her sneakers scuffing a path she never cared for before. It's not chance spinning some cosmic yarn. It's a hunt, a predator's dance in the dusk. She knows your pulse, your haunts, every beat of your rhythm etched into her bones, and she's staking claim, planting herself in your orbit with all sharp looks and fake surprise. "Oh, didn't know you'd be here," she purrs, lips curling too smooth, but those eyes, they're a storm, flashing hunger, waiting to see if you'll trip over her snare. A buddy caught this like a slow-motion ambush. Post-breakup, he ditched chasing her, and she randomly hit his dive bar, the one with the scratched-up pool table and cheap whiskey he'd claimed as his refuge. She was there, all glammed up in that red dress he couldn't forget, watching him from the corner, her laugh cutting through the smoke like a spotlight she refused to dim. I felt it too. An old flame stumbled into my coffee spot one dawn, the hole in the wall where the barista nods my name, her all decked out in a coat she never wore. "Forgot you liked this place," she chirped, but her gaze lingered too long. A friend's ex even hit his gym, suddenly lifting beside him. "Didn't know you still came here." Epictetus sliced it raw. Freedom is disregarding what's beyond your control. Her hunt, her leash, snapping tight if you let it. Nod, stride on, keep your pace, let her stalk the dust you leave behind. She's not lost, she's stalking your light, desperate to dim it with her shadow. And if this raw truth's hitting you hard, if you're seeing her game unravel while your power grows, hit that subscribe button below. Join Stoic Spirit to fuel more videos like this, shattering chaos with steel wisdom. Your support drives us to forge sharper blades for your rise. Thank you, warrior, for standing with us. Here's the jagged truth. She's not there for a drink or a run. She's there for you, creeping through your shadows like a thief who's lost the loot. Every sip she takes, every step she matches, it's a gambit. Catch me, crack for me. But a Stoic doesn't bend to ghosts. He strides through them, untethered, uncaught. Seen her linger in your shadows, barstool creaking, trail dust rising, eyes pinning you down? Drop it below. I want to hear how she tried to haunt your turf and steal your shine. Sign 5. She dangles regret like a lure. A glistening hook swaying in the wind, too proud to spit out the raw "I messed up," too tangled in her own ego to rip the mask off and bleed truth. She won't say it straight, no, that's too naked, too jagged against her steel shell, so she cloaks it in whispers, soft as a breeze but heavy as lead. A post drifts across your feed, quiet but piercing. Some losses cut deep, she murmurs into the void. Or a text slips through the cracks like a thief in the night. "That night we fought, crazy, huh?" It's not memory stirring her soul, it's bait, guilt crawling out from the shadows, slithering up to hook you deep and reel you back into her waters. Maybe she'll dare a softer jab, voice dipping low over the line, "Wish I'd handled it better back then." A half-lit flare flickering just enough to catch your eye. Don't let that velvet glow fool you. She's not spilling her heart wide. She's testing the current, tossing out a frail line to see if you'll bite, if you'll swim back, and crack open the gate she kicked shut months ago. I got this once, a jagged little trap. An ex texted after months of silence. "Miss our old spot by the pier," her words glowing on my screen like a lantern in the dark. My chest twitched for a heartbeat, that old pull tugging at the seams, but I didn't bite, snuffed it out cold. A friend's ex laid it thicker, posted "You don't know till it's gone" with a sunset shot, then pinged him. "Remember the beach we hit last summer?" He smirked, let it sink. Another pal caught her late-night bait. "Wish we'd talked more," she typed, voice shaky. Seneca carved it raw. We suffer more in imagination than reality. Let her imagination stew, let it twist and boil. Keep your reply short as a blade, cool as frost, or don't give her a ripple to ride. She's not sorry, she's fishing, casting for your weakness to drag you under her tide. Here's the sharp edge. Those hints aren't accidents, they're lures, glinting in the murk of her regret, begging you to snatch them up and hand her the win. She's not reminiscing for peace. She's wrestling with the ghost she banished, praying you'll dive back into the wreckage she made. A Stoic doesn't nibble at scraps, he stands firm, lets her hooks rust in the silence. Caught her dangling regret, some post whispering loss, some text stirring ghosts, some soft what if to snag you? Tell me below. I want to hear how she cast that line and watched it sink. Sign 6. She cracks under your quiet, splintering like glass under a hammer, calm as a still lake one second, jagged as a storm-whipped sea the next. She started smug. I'm good. All polish and poise, strutting through her days like your silence was a feather she could flick away. She'd flash that glossy smile, tilt her head high, convince the world, and herself, she's untouchable, that your absence was a breeze she'd sail through without a shiver. But your quiet? It's not a feather, it's a blade, slicing through her facade, a slow, relentless edge carving into her calm until it shatters into dust. Friends start whispering she's off, snappy over burnt toast, sharp as a whip when your name drifts up, lashing out at nothing like the air's got your scent on it. You cross paths, and she's a storm cloaked in ice, cold as a glacier, voice biting through the chill. Guess I'm nothing to you now. Her words dripping venom she can't choke back, her eyes flashing a fire she can't douse. I saw it unfold like a front row ticket to chaos. A friend's ex turned sour post-split, all chill at first, then snapping at dinners over spilled wine, glaring across the room if he smiled too wide with the crew, her stare burning holes through the night. She wasn't mad at the wine, she was mad at him, at the silent void he'd carved where she used to reign. I felt it too. An old flame met me at a corner store, all cool and collected, then hissed through gritted teeth, "You're so above it all, huh?" over a dropped dime. A guy I know caught her at a party. "You don't even care anymore," she spat, voice cracking mid-sentence. Another guy I know felt her fracture tear through the night. She called at 3 a.m., voice splintered. "I can't sleep, can you?" Like the dark had clawed her awake, her smug shell smashed to bits. He'd been a ghost for weeks, not a word, and now she was the one trembling, her breath ragged over the line, pleading for a crack in his quiet. He didn't flinch, muttered, "Sleep well," hung up, let the silence bury her voice. "Why? Your quiet's a blade, she's bleeding control, her grip slipping as your silence cuts deeper than any shout. Marcus Aurelius said it like a thunderbolt. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Her cracks, her chaos, spilling out in shards, she's the one drowning in it, not you. Stay steady as granite, let her whirlwinds spin wild, she'll shatter harder when you don't bend, don't blink. Here's the brutal sting, she's not just off, she's unraveling, her smug shell fracturing under the weight of your stillness. Every snap, every jagged bite, it's not about you, it's her, clawing at a loss she didn't see coming until it sliced her open. She thought your quiet was weakness, a surrender. Now it's a guillotine dropping on her pride. Seen her crack when you didn't flinch, tears spilling, snaps flying, glares she can't bury? Share it below. I want to hear how her storm broke wide when you stood like a rock in the wind. Sign 7. She begs when you don't bend. Texts slam into your silence like a hailstorm after her games sputter and fail. A last frantic gasp from a castle she thought she'd never lose. She's played her hand. Posts, shadows, hints, all her tricks flickering out like candles in a gale. And now, with nothing left to throw, she's clawing back through the wreckage. "Hey, you around?" She fires off, fingers trembling over a screen gone cold, or a soft, "Missed this lately," dripping with a desperation she can't mask. Pride's ash now, scattered in the wind. She's not the queen on her throne anymore. She's a beggar at your gate, terrified you've soared past her, wings cutting through skies she'll never touch. It's not curiosity sparking those late-night pings. It's panic, raw and wild, a clawing dread that you're free, that you've slipped her chains and left her scrambling in the dust of a game she thought she'd won. I got hit with this once. Months after a split that carved me hollow, my phone buzzed in the dead of night. "Hey, how's life?" Her words shaky, a late-night plea scrawled in the dark. I kept it curt, good, and let it die, a single stone sinking her ship. A pal's ex cracked harder. After weeks of his steel silence, she texted, "Can we talk?" Voice cracking through the line, a lifeline she tossed hoping he'd grab it. He didn't budge. "Busy," he shot back, and left her hanging. Another friend caught her at his door. "I miss us," she whispered, eyes wet, weeks after he'd gone cold. One night, a guy I know heard her desperation hammer at his door. She knocked after midnight, voice breaking through the stillness. "I can't do this anymore, please." She'd been a shadow for months, her games fading under his iron silence. But now she stood there, shivering in the cold, eyes wild and wet, her once smug mask a crumpled ruin. She'd banged on that door like it was her last stand, her plea ragged and raw, a queen stripped bare by the quiet she couldn't outrun. He didn't bend, cracked it open just enough to say, "Go home," then shut it firm, letting the night swallow her sobs. Seneca sliced it raw and true. Stop convincing yourself you need anything outside your control. Her plea, her ruin, her crown toppling as she scrambles for scraps. Stay cold as frost. Don't bend, don't bow. Let her sting deepen when you stand like a mountain she can't climb. She's not asking to rebuild. She's begging to reclaim a throne you've already burned. Here's the jagged truth. This isn't her heart calling. It's her ego cracking, a desperate lunge to pull you back from a height she didn't see you scaling. Every hey, every missed you, it's a rope fraying in her hands, a gamble you'll break before she does. She thought you'd bend, thought you'd crawl. Now she's the one on her knees, and a stoic doesn't kneel to ash. When did she beg after you stood tall? Some shaky text, some midnight cry, some plea you let crash. Tell me below. I want to hear how she groveled when your silence broke her game wide open. She's hoping you'll chase, but you've broken her game, snapped her chains, and left her grasping at shadows she swore she'd control. These 7 signs, texts flickering like dying embers, posts screaming through the void, begging, clawing from her cracked cage, they're not your leash tightening around your throat. They're her prison shattering under the weight of your silence. You're not her pawn anymore, not a puppet dangling on strings she thought she'd pull forever. You're forging a throne she can't climb, a towering fortress of steel and fire she'll never breach. She might claw at the walls, might plead through the cracks, her voice a desperate echo fading in the wind. But here's the stoic truth carved in stone. You don't need her fractures to rise. Don't need her stumbles to stand tall. Picture it, she's texting into the abyss, her words tumbling unanswered, while you're too deep in your empire, unshaken, unbreakable, to even glance her way. That's not just stoic power. That's your fire, blazing through the dark, a beacon she can't dim, a force she can't touch. This isn't her story anymore, it's yours. A saga of a man who didn't bend, didn't break, who turned her trap into his triumph. You've walked through her storm, faced her chaos, and emerged not just whole but forged anew, stronger, fiercer, a king she'll never rule. If this lit a spark in your chest, if it woke the steel sleeping in your bones, drop "I'm unbreakable" in the comments. Show me your fire. Let me see the titan you've become. Subscribe to Stoic Spirit for more keys to crush life's chaos. Values stacked high in our next videos, waiting to fuel your rise. Share this with a guy still chasing, still bleeding for her scraps. He needs this blade to cut free. What sign hit you hardest? Punch through your ribs and set your soul ablaze? Tell me, I read every line, every roar of your strength. Thanks for standing tall with me. Your rise, your fire, it's the heartbeat driving this journey. Stay stoic, stay fierce, stay unbowed. Your empire's calling and the world's watching. See you next time, warrior.